Community shelter and really involved with the finance and fundraising teams. Thanks for coming on our tour today. Just wanted to say I got involved with Unity Shelter originally through the Housing Action Team of the Coalition, and really wanted to help our community work to find ways to address the needs of people experiencing homelessness in a way that ideally could build our community, not pull us apart. It's really hard to address these complex issues in a way that we can address as many needs as possible. But that's my goal, and it really fits with Unity Shelter's mission of providing safe shelter through collaborative care. So it was a good fit for me.
Hi, I'm Mike Moore. It's a privilege to be a founding board member of Unity Shelter and to be working with such a talented and giving board. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and a retired builder at Chateau Construction. Supporting Unity Shelter is a great way for me to exercise my Christian values of loving my neighbor, and I've always been interested in housing and caring for others. I don't know of perfect solutions to helping those experiencing homelessness, but working with Unity Shelter allows me to do something that will help many community members in a real way. Thank you for your interest and support.
Hi, my name is Deb Rose. I am a social worker and have been a resident of Corvallis for 25 years. Houselessness is the most pressing problem in our community today. I want to do my part and try to make a difference. Working with Unity Shelter is one way for me to do this.
Hi, my name is DJ Wiegand, and I am treasurer for Unity Shelter. I am grateful and proud to be part of Unity Shelter, whose sole goal is to help those less fortunate in our community.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for coming today to our Unity Shelter event and for coming with your interest and support for Unity Shelter. I'm Jill McAllister. I'm the minister at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Corvallis, and I'm also the Unity Shelter board president. I imagine that by this time, after more than a year of pandemic Zoom work, you know a little bit about how to do this kind of meeting, but I'll just mention a few things. We invite you to stay muted through the meeting so that there aren't distractions. And the chat will be open to collect questions. We won't be responding during the meeting, but any questions that you send to us, we will try to respond to as soon as we can afterward. And to make sure that you're seeing the big screen view, make sure that you've clicked on speaker view on your screen. Last year when we gathered like this for the first time, Unity Shelter was a new organization. Actually, it was not quite an organization yet. Since then, we have grown faster than anyone could have imagined. And the focus and the scope of our work has also grown because homelessness is increasing all across the country, in nearly every major city and in suburban and rural areas as well. And COVID has exacerbated this growth. We know that. So once again, this year, we've chosen to call this event a tour of homes. For some of us from comfortable places, a tour of homes is about assets, about taken for granted security, about an aesthetic understanding of the word home. But for others, home means the most basic need for a safe place to sleep, to rest. It means basic shelter from the elements. It means the difference between health and illness. And even here in Corvallis, home can mean the difference between life and death. The reasons for homelessness are many and varied, and they include every person's specific life story. But every story, every person is part of the fabric of society in which, at the moment, some lives are often not as important as others or as important as political wins and gains. And the effects of war and poverty and sickness and mental health, addiction and discrimination and generational abuse, sometimes the simple loss of family and friends are very often part of the stories of people experiencing homelessness. Our work begins with providing shelter and basic needs, but it includes providing as much help as possible to help people experiencing homelessness move toward sheltered stability and safety. This work is not only the work of a few organizations, but of the entire community. All of us are needed. Unity Shelter depends on a wide and expanding circle of volunteers and community partners for whom we are very grateful. And I'd like to begin by introducing you to the members of our board of directors. In addition to me, we have Jen Butler, who's the minister of the First Congregational Church, UCC, also the hosts of Safe Camp. Sherry Clough, a professor at Oregon State University in philosophy, who is our secretary. DJ Wiegand, who works at HP and who is serving as the treasurer of the board. Jane Barth, who is the vice president of the board and has been part of this work, beginning with the Corvallis Sustainability Coalition's Housing Action Team. Virginia Britson, who is a former board member for Room at the Inn Women's Shelter and has a background as a nurse. Sean Collins is our executive director. Deb Rose, one of the newer members of the board, is, as she introduced herself, is a social worker, and she has taken on the job of heading up our fundraising efforts, and that's much appreciated. Sarah Power, the former director of Room at the Inn Women's Shelter and also a retired Methodist minister. Ginny Lucker, who's a lawyer specializing in land use issues, which has already come in handy as we've looked at the needs for places in our city and county where homeless people who are experiencing homelessness and need spaces, for example, for tents, can find safe space. And Mike Moore, who is the communications spokesperson for the local branch of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and is also our webmaster. You can see that there's a space left to be determined. We are looking for at least one more board member to share in the important work that we do and to be part of what is really, I will say, a dream team and has been since we started. In addition to those board members, there are community partners and other volunteers. We have committees and teams working for us. Mike McAnally is heading up a communications team. We have a team of folks helping Sean look at real estate. Our Safe Camp program includes a big steering committee meeting weekly. These are some of the volunteers that we depend on. We also have community partners, including Corvallis Housing First, Benton County Mental Health, the Drop-In Day Center, Stone Soup, the City of Corvallis and Benton County, and more. And we are working to build more good, strong, and working partnerships. And all of you. We are so grateful for your participation today because the Unity Shelter Project needs you too. The needs in our community, indeed the needs everywhere, are great. To understand the dynamics and the causes and the effects of homelessness on persons and on communities, this work belongs to us all. So today we are very pleased and excited to give you an update on our programs. And to get that started, I'm very happy to introduce our Executive Director, Sean Collins. Sean was exactly the person we needed when we hired him to be our Executive Director, and he is even more the person we need as Unity Shelter continues to grow and expand. Sean.
Hello. and welcome to this year's Unity Shelter Tour of Homes. A year ago, we fully expected to be doing this event in person, but very little has developed as we thought it might a year ago. Since our last event, so much has happened for Unity Shelter and for those we serve. Last year, we were still waiting patiently for our 501c3 status to be approved by the IRS, while working to knit together the operations of the men's shelter, Room at the Inn women's shelter, and Safe Place. The idea of opening a new shelter at the site of the former Budget Inn in South Corvallis was just beginning to form. Now, we're an independent 501c3. Our three main programs are in great demand. Our staff has grown considerably, and we've been fortunate to partner with Corvallis Housing First to open that new shelter called 3rd Street Commons and take on a style of shelter that's relatively new in Oregon, non-congregate shelter. COVID hasn't gone away, but we continue to adapt operations and practice in all of our locations to minimize the risk of it spreading. In all of our programs, we continue to learn and lean into the challenges of providing safe shelter, whether that safety is physical, emotional, or cultural, and to do it in a way that both leverages our partnerships and develops new capacity as we identify gaps. This growth, both in terms of our program offerings and staff and in the way that we approach serving those who come through our doors, has happened in large part as a response to COVID. COVID has been so devastating to so many, and it's hard to find anything good to say about it. What we can say is that what we've seen is a terrific level of funding support from donors like you, from federal and state granting agencies who support our work. That support has allowed us to grow quickly and meet a growing demand. We've been able to leverage that support well, filling our line staff positions to cover operations before seeking to deepen the management structure. This has some costs. I think at times our staff might like a little bit more direct guidance and training, and we're definitely working on that. But it's also meant that we've been able to ramp up services quickly and safely, and we've learned a great deal about what it means to grow far faster than anyone planned. Part of what we're learning right now is that while COVID may become less of an active issue, the economic and social disruption brought about by the COVID pandemic will last for a very long time. With the end of eviction moratoriums and a return to more normal funding levels and approaches, we're staring down some potentially difficult times. To sustain our programs and meet the growing needs of those now entering homelessness, we must build a more diverse funding approach, relying more on donations and grants from private sources. Your support is as critical as ever as we look ahead to even more people needing services from Unity Shelter and our partners, and the end of special COVID funding. Today, we want to tell you about the growth and changes in our programs over the last year, the people we serve, and some of our staff. It's a great story and there's a lot to tell. So let's get started. The first stop on our tour is Safe Place.
Over the past year, the Safe Place program has experienced tremendous growth and success in our existing locations: First Congregational, United Methodist, and Corvallis Evangelical churches. The Men's Shelter and Hygiene Center joined us as a host site, and we are currently building installations at Good Samaritan Episcopal Church and Life Community Church. We've come a long way from a collection of tents under the trees at Safe Camp in 2019 to a wraparound program that partners with a variety of agencies and providers to fill a critical housing need in our community. Navigating COVID has been a challenge, but even during a global pandemic, our shelters have been consistently full with folks well on their way to more stable housing situations. The communities at each of our host sites are unique, but they all operate with Safe Camp's original ethic in mind, creating a space of belonging and caring for the needs of the whole person. While the last year has been filled with success stories, it has also highlighted the gaps that exist in our community. We need more resources to support the broad continuum of wellness, health of mind, body, and spirit. We need a more robust network of food supports that provide real food for real bodies. We need to develop life skills programs and partnerships that support our residents beyond their stay with us and through their return to housing. And our staff need to be supported in the work of building deeper relationships with the folks we are in service to, while we create the kind of communities we all want to live and work in.
We all kind of share a common goal, and that is to no longer be homeless, B, have a sense of security and well-being, and C, to better our lives and to improve our quality of life. And this place did that for, at least for me. I can speak for myself. It did that for me. So I'm so grateful. And it's a great place. I mean, the first month or so was a little uncomfortable, even the first week, because it was a different way of life, because I had been out kind of trying to survive. And here you could kind of relax a little bit and, find your way and not have to worry about the things that you would if you were out on the streets. It increased the quality of my life tremendously. I had the access to things that I hadn't had before when I was on the streets, and so therefore it really taught me what being grateful is all about. So housing became an option for me, and I now am going to be moving into my own place here in about a week. So if not for Safe Camp, I probably never would have even explored that option. So the case managers here and the folks here are very helpful in getting you lined up with that kind of an opportunity. So it basically, what Safe Camp was for me is, and I think it's for everybody, is it's kind of a transitional housing option for everybody. And it works. It works. I've seen it work for a lot of people. It helps you to set goals and things like that. So it kind of just enables that whole process. And I've seen it be very successful.
One of the most beautiful parts of the growth of Unity Shelter in the past year has been the involvement and support of wider parts of the community, including more faith organizations and businesses and schools. Building microshelters has been one of the areas where this involvement has been much needed and much appreciated. Adam Kirsch, a science and engineering teacher at Crescent Valley High School, reached out to Unity Shelter through the Corvallis Hope Advisory Board. Adam took on the project of building a microshelter by making it a class project for his Crescent Valley students. From April to June, students in his class learned science and engineering and construction skills as they would have anyway, but they also learned about some needs of other people in our community and how the help of many hands makes a difference. Adam has posted detailed instructions for building a microshelter on the Corvallis School District website. We are so grateful to Adam and to his students and look forward to more partnerships of this kind.
This is one of the most exciting things about the growth of Unity Shelter, is how many different people have offered and connected themselves to this work and brought things that we couldn't even have imagined. This is what we're hoping for, more and more people in the community to find their own ways to be part of this work, which belongs to all of us. The second stop on our tour is the men's shelter, which for a long time during the COVID pandemic was unable to provide shelter. We were not able to bring people inside. And so the men's shelter became a hygiene station, a place for all people in need to come and be able to clean up and get some services by like case management and things like that. So The men's shelter has gone through some tremendous changes over the past year and a half. And Harry Reich, who is the program director for the men's shelter, is here to tell you a little bit more about how it's looking now.
Hi, my name is Harry Reich. I'm the manager of the men's shelter. I've been the manager of the men's shelter for the past 5 years. I took over as the manager when the shelter moved to the 3rd Street location. As my position as the manager, my job is to manage the employees, and I also take care of all of the maintenance and repairs for the men's shelter and also for the 29 micro shelters that we have in the Unity Shelter system. I do weekly inspections of the micro shelters, and I do any repairs that are needed and try to do all the upkeep for those shelters. When I started in September 2020, we had about 11 or 12 employees at the shelter, and now we have about 35, plus another 10 at the women's shelter. We have the men's shelter, which operates from 6 o'clock at night until 9 o'clock in the morning, where clients come and stay and spend the night. We provide them with dinner and with breakfast in the mornings. We are averaging about 25 to 27 people a night, and that keeps us pretty busy. During the day, we operate the Health and Hygiene Center, which is open from 11 o'clock in the morning until 5 p.m., where people that are not housed or in the community can come and take a shower, can have laundry done, can get their phones charged, and we give out sack lunches and bottled water each day. We're open 7 days a week. So since the pandemic started, we went from a 5-month operation to a year-round operation. So for the past 2 years, we've been running full-time, 24 hours a day. Our job at the men's shelter, of course, is to provide a safe place for the men to come in, feel safe, be able to watch some TV, have some dinner, get a good night's sleep, take a shower, get some clothes cleaned, get a good breakfast, and feel like they are cared for and taken care of. And then we try to treat them with respect, show them the respect that they deserve. Some of the greatest challenges or the hardest things to deal with at the men's shelter, I would say, is not so much getting to know the guys, but getting to know them well enough to where they'll open up and share some of their experiences and some of the things that are going on in their lives so that we can help them.
So one of the huge changes for our sheltering programs are that the two main ones when we began, Room at the Inn, Women's Shelter, and the Men's Shelter, were seasonal, 5 months a year, nighttime shelters. And since the pandemic, they became 24/7, 365-day-a-year operations. Safe Camp began like that, and so we were faced with 3 huge programs working with much more time needed, more staffing, and the pandemic made it very difficult for us to also invite in volunteers. So this is one of the ways that we have grown. The Room at the Inn Women's Shelter has been through many of these kinds of changes. And the program director of Room at the Inn, Nohe Kahalewai, is here to tell you a little bit about how things are going there.
Hi, welcome to Room at the Inn Women's Shelter, here in the community center of the First United Methodist Church. My name is Nohe, I'm the shelter manager, and joining me today is Coco. So we came to the quietest room at the shelter, so I could tell you more about Room at the Inn. We have 22 guests living inside the shelter, and we have 5 guests living outside in the micro shelter. Thank you so much for your support. It wouldn't be possible without your help. Happy holidays from Room at the Inn Women's Shelter. Hi, my name is Nohe. I'm the shelter manager for Room at the Inn Women's Shelter. I have been a part of this amazing program for 6 years. I worked as an overnight staff for 3 years. Then I transitioned into the manager's role in October 2018. Serving and helping others has always been my passion, which is why Room at the Inn as a whole is very special to me because I get to do what I love every day. Room at the Inn is open 24/7 and offers many services to those who reside in the shelter, as well as those who live in the micro shelters. Our services include 3 meals a day, which is served out of our commercial kitchen, showers 6 days a week, laundry, and intensive case management. We're currently operating at full capacity. All 22 of our beds are filled, including the 4 micro shelters, and we have a waiting list with approximately 7 names. During the pandemic, lots have changed compared to previous years. One significant change is our hours of operation. We've never operated more than 5 months out of the year or more than 14 hours in a day, so it took some adjusting, but we managed to push through to support, serve, and keep everyone safe. At the start of COVID, a major challenge was getting people to follow COVID-19 guidelines, wearing masks, social distancing, practicing good personal hygiene, staying at the shelter, and keeping safe. But so far, I can confidently say that we managed to keep COVID out of our shelter just by enforcing rules and policies, being consistent, and frequently educating guests on the coronavirus and the importance of keeping everyone safe and healthy. We've had and continue to witness much success during this pandemic time as a program and with individual guests. A few of our guests have secured and sustained full and part-time jobs while living in the shelter. Several other guests obtained permanent and stable housing with the support of our case management team, shelter staff, local housing authorities, and other partnering agencies. Corrine oversees the arts and craft table and keeps folks busy with fun and engaging activities. Since starting this program, Corrine and several of our guests have created beautiful works of art, which is showcased throughout the shelter. Guests also wear their artwork in the form of tie-dye shirts, jewelry, and even pins. Guests had developed a group called Kaleidoscope with Corrine's support. This group is separate from the shelter's arts and craft program, but many participants are the same. Guests have sold some of their artwork and crafts at the Saturday market to support their own needs, as some do not have the funds to buy specific essential items. We currently have a handful of experienced and consistent volunteers helping out weekly, which we are incredibly thankful for. At this time, the greatest need for Room at the Inn is volunteers and helpers. We could use more assistance in the kitchen with meal prep, serving, and cleanup. Help is also needed in the main room during the evening and overnight hours.
Nohe emphasized the need for volunteers, and Room at the Inn has been able to begin to bring some volunteers back, but that has been one of the greatest limitations to our work during COVID. We used to depend on hundreds of volunteers, and so little by little now, we're hoping to have people feel safe enough to come back because we're taking as many safety precautions as we can. But we have also had to increase staff very much and very fast. So these are two of the ways that we've been impacted. We look forward to being able to work with volunteers again because they are part of very necessary community support. So I hope that you'll consider that. The last stop on our tour of homes is the newest of the Unity Shelter programs, 3rd Street Commons, in which we are partnering with Corvallis Housing First. They bought and renovated the Budget Inn in Southtown, and Unity Shelter is providing the program staffing. This is a non-congregate shelter, which means that each person or each couple has their own room, which is especially good for the most medically vulnerable people who are in need of housing. And it has also allowed us to have some spaces for those who test positive for COVID in order to be able to quarantine safely. So here's Ilea Schaefer to tell you more about 3rd Street Commons.
Third Street Commons is a collaboration with Corvallis Housing First at the site of the former Budget Inn in South Corvallis. Since opening in May 2021, the shelter has served 42 individuals experiencing homelessness. Third Street Commons is unique in that it is a non-congregate shelter, so all of our residents have their own private space to live in. Third Street Commons can provide individuals a safe place to sleep who might not be an appropriate fit for or comfortable in a traditional shelter setting. Utilizing the site of a former motel, we also have the ability to shelter parents with their adult children and couples who would otherwise not be able to shelter together. Third Street Commons is staffed 24/7 and provides individuals the opportunity to relearn how to live inside with around-the-clock staff support. Our partnership with Corvallis Housing First provides on-site case management so residents can get access to services as they work towards a transition into permanent housing. Residents of Third Street Commons are able to check in and out with staff as they please, though they are often found mingling together outside. In the warmer months, the residents will come together for yard games and barbecues. There is currently no kitchen space for residents at Third Street Commons, but we hope to one day provide them with a space where they can prepare and serve their own meals. Stone Soup has recently partnered with us to serve their evening meals from Third Street Commons so they can continue to serve hot meals to the community. Opening in the middle of the pandemic has given us many learning and growth opportunities. We have set aside 5 rooms at Third Street Commons as quarantine and isolation rooms where people positive for and exposed to COVID-19 can recover safely and supported. The uptick of COVID-19 cases in the community has restricted guests for our current residents, but has helped us to keep small community safe and healthy. Operating any shelter system is difficult. Opening and operating one during a pandemic has a steep learning curve. We could not have done it and be where we are today in this community without our incredible staff, residents, partners, and community members. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Luther McLean. I joined Unity Shelter about 2 months ago now. One of my main focuses is take the workload off of folks who've been having to work too much. But as we've gotten more employees, hopefully I'll be able to focus more on managing just one site. But I enjoy helping people. That's why I took this job, and I look forward to continuing working here and seeing what happens.
My name is Lexi Greenlee, and I'm the Development and Training Coordinator. I maintain our training database and track staff training records. I also manage our social media pages and curate and distribute information from our shelters to the public. I'm a former room at the Inn staff, so I'm excited to be in this position to use my experience to educate and train other staff.
So you've had a chance now to hear about our programs and to meet our administrative staff and program management staff. And so we hope that that has helped you have a better picture of what we're doing today. One of the best ways to stay informed about the work of Unity Shelter is through our excellent website, thanks to the efforts of our webmaster, Mike Moore. And Mike is going to tell you a little more about how you can use that website to stay connected to our work.
Well, what a great presentation about the success and efforts to help people experiencing homelessness at Unity Shelter. I would like to extend an invitation to visit, explore, and familiarize yourself with our website at unityshelter.org. The primary purpose of the website is to transparently share our mission and explain our identity in total, but that includes our mission, how we can help others, those who are seeking help, our operations, our programs. It's a great place to get an education about homelessness and to raise awareness for how we can help people experiencing homelessness. If you go to the program section of the website, you'll see that there are 3 sections, one for each of our primary programs: the men's shelter, the room at the inn, and safe place. And within each of those, there's basically a website that explains everything you would need to know about each of them. So I think that's a really great way to familiarize yourself with our programs. Now, some of the elements of our website are somewhat static. They're updated occasionally because they're just there to educate you about the board, who we are, and so they don't need to be updated all the time. But there are other elements of the website where you should check back frequently. For example, on the homepage, where we're looking at now, there's a news flash at the top right section, and that changes regularly. When there's something important that's happened either for Unity Shelter or has been covered in the news, has received some award or publicity, you'll find it there. Another really great place to look on a regular basis is under the Learn section and local news. And in the local news, there's all sorts of links to articles that have been published about homelessness in our community. Most of the articles come from the Gazette-Times, but there are others as well. And so that's just a backlog, historical running of, and you can see by the volume of articles that it's a hot topic in our community and one that's covered well in the news. Another area is, of course, ways that you can help. So when you go to the help section, you can find out ways to volunteer or make donations, for example. And Jill's going to cover the details, but if you desire to make a donation, you can learn how to do that using various tools. Thank you for your participation today, your interest in helping, and we'll see you soon.
Well, this has been a beautiful way to see a lot of what we do all at once. And so we want to give you more information now about how you can get involved and share in this work and support Unity Shelter, beginning with this message from our treasurer, DJ Wiegand.
Thank you so much for spending time with us today. I and the Unity Shelter Board encourage you to contribute what you can to support our cause. Any amount you donate goes directly to helping the men, women, and children experiencing homelessness in our community. Thanks.
So let us now tell you a little bit more about how you can help Unity Shelter by donating. We've showed you a little bit about the website, and we really appreciate that you're asking for some of this information. Donations to Unity Shelter are tax deductible because we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization now. And so you can be sure that we will do the best we can to take care of your donations, and they go to the operations of our shelters. They go to that work. So that's the first thing that we want you to know. We're in the middle of an effort to match some beautiful donations that we received very recently. 2 donations totaling a total of $150,000, specifically to be used because they're needed there to do renovations and needed improvements to the men's shelter to bring the men's shelter up to city codes that we need. And so each donation to the men's shelter will become part of this match, aiming for a total of $300,000. You might also want to look at the possibility of a triple match, that if you are donating as part of this match, your employer may be an organization that sponsors matching gifts programs, and then you could also get their support to add. So if you'd like more information about that, you can contact Deb Rose, who's working with our fundraising. You can find her through the website. There are a variety of ways to make an online donation. You can, to begin with, you're going to be able to text us a donation. That information is going to be in the chat coming soon. But of course, you can go to the website as Mike showed you, and then from there you can select to allocate your donation to any of our main programs, or to simply allow your donation to be used by Unity Shelter for the program need, which is the greatest at the time. You can also write a check made payable to Unity Shelter, and the address is where our office is right now at the UCC congregation on West Hills Road, 4515 Southwest West Hills Road in Corvallis, 97333. If you are interested in donating stock or mutual funds, we are very grateful and able to handle those donations. You can find out more at donate@unityshelter.org or by contacting our Executive Director, Sean Collins. If you'd prefer to make a donation via text, just text the dollar amount of your donation to this number, 844-703-0862. And we'll leave that number in the chat for a while so that if that's your preferred mode, you can certainly do that. Once again, thank you so much for joining us today, for your support of Unity Shelter, and for your recognition that this is shared work. This is the work of a whole community, our whole community. It is the work of taking care of people, and that includes all people. It is the work of providing for the basic needs of everyone. In a community which is unable or unwilling to provide for the basic needs of everyone, I think is a community in decline, no longer a community. But we aren't. We are a community where there are connections, where there are shared concerns, and where there are all the resources we need to meet the basic needs of all parts of our community. So I invite you to stay connected, reach out to others, tell them about our work so that we can continue to do this work together in an ever-widening circle. Thank you for coming today.